Hey, what's up guys? Thank you for finding me on YouTube if you are new. Welcome to Mabu College. I'm your instructor, Mabu Nakagawa. Today's topic is gonna be so interesting because we're gonna be covering space business. Not to worry buddy. I'm not going on a trip to space. You know what? A big business tsunami wave is hitting the world, folks. The space economy is now booming. For those who have nothing to do with space, not space button, but universe, like outer space, cosmos. It is now time to take a moment to overview how space industry worldwide is growing. As you guys know, the SpaceX, the most leading space company, and the CEO, Elon Musk, are developing space technology, including spacecraft, satellites, space station, and orbital launch vehicle, and more. The movement is on fire. Unstoppable, folks. According to the official report made by the Space Foundation, the space economy is estimated to be worth 100 trillion Japanese yen by 2040. It's gonna be a main business sector that generates a lot of money for sure. If you miss it, you'll pay for it. Now, it is 2023 and in the next 17 years, most of you guys will probably still alive. If you are behind this big wave trend, you're gonna lose a chance to make more money. Well, even if you are not interested in space business, don't worry about that. I don't also know anything yet, but as I did research on space industry, like what Elon Musk is doing in business, and this digital infrastructure in the sky has brought benefit to many different industries and is helping in a fight against climate change, for example. There must be some concerns that people don't really know. How it can benefit us, or space business is dangerous, or it's so scary to go to the moon, or something like that. But the definition of space economy is not only go to the space, but also it covers goods and services produced in space for use in space, such as mining the moon or any kind of business coming from satellite broadband internet access. The space sector is not only the growth sector in itself, it's also proving a key enabler of growth and efficiency in other sectors like meteorology, energy, telecommunications, insurance, transport, and maritime, aviation, and urban development and stuff like that. Any kinds of business sectors are applicable for space business. So, as IT revolution broke out in early 2000 in Japan, iPhone went viral all over the world, right? Yeah, Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk have changed world business trend, which is so incredible. And next stage is said to be space. Not sure who is gonna be the next leader of innovation, but whoever it is, we end up just to follow on a trend line or a path they created, So, how come space business is on fire, by the way? Speaking of which, for those who don't know anything about the space business, what is a space business for you? It is the business of launching and operating satellites and utilizing the data for commercial purpose in space. That's what it says in Google Chrome. So we can just imagine like, oh wow, rocket is so cool. But why do you think a lot of billionaires are investing in space business? If you watch my video until it ends, you know the answer. I'm presenting you this video because I'm so intrigued by business, and I would like to go over the upcoming future business in Tokyo so that we can have a deeper and better comprehensions of economy trend at the same time. Okay? However, for merely an individual user like me, space business sounds overwhelming and a huge national project. I don't think I can do it myself. Yeah, maybe we should nationalize space business and leave it to the country like the United States, like big company like that. So space development is a big project. None of us wants to launch business in space. In the first place, I thought so. But now it is getting privatized. Okay, so anyone can start doing a space business. Good or bad, once the government transfers the space business into private hands, like they transfer the business industry or service from public to private ownership and control. What's gonna happen? Yes, we gotta start a big competition with high levels of private funding, advances in technology, and growing public sector interest, which is shifted and look at toward the stars. So I believe that's gonna be a great business opportunities. The investment is mainly for more accessible, less expensive to reach into outer space. That could be significant, of course, with potential opportunities in fields such as satellite broadband, as I said earlier, high-speed product delivery, and perhaps even human space travel. Travel. That is probably the biggest interest for you. To outline the progress in space from both public and private companies, as well as government efforts, mostly those space activities are driven by private companies like SpaceX. Japanese space companies are very small scaled, not quite active in business yet, because we have too many strict and rigid regulations and policy that cracked down by the Japanese government. So plus we don't have a vast land even to launch a rocket except in Hokkaido, and the private funding is limited. Many obstacles stand in the way of progress and achievement. So overseas investors are not interested in Japanese space business. So yeah, domestically it sucks. But in public opinion, we still monitor how space business is going on. Yeah, I'm interested too. So people are getting more and more interested in space business. But you know, they just don't spend too much money on it. And you know what? That makes sense to me. If I am asked to invest in space business without a warranty or coverage in case of a big loss, I'll hesitate putting too much money on it. I mean, I'll think twice or more than that to invest in, because it's simply risky. No one wants to lose money, right? So it's challenging for normal people to invest in something no one knows in the market, especially for space business. But don't worry about that. No one knows everything from the beginning. Yeah, you don't want to be an almighty god. Just think about something, they're science fiction. Okay, so here I'm gonna tell you a history of rocket technology. Yeah, Draemon is one of the famous SF animations released in Japan and globally. We can look at the book published by Jules Gabriel Verne. A 19th century author best known for stories like Journey to the Center of the Earth. He was often referred to as a father of science fiction. He believed his invention and his discoveries were not possible using contemporary engineering skills and knowledge. His invention, his idea, and his dream later came true. The submarines, helicopter, lunar modules, and more, so to speak. His invention was the origin of science, and scientifically became realistic 100 years later. In 1903, Russian scientist Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, oh, it's so hard to pronounce his name, I apologize. He published a landmark paper on a rocket science titled Exploration of Outer Space by Means of Rocket Devices. Incredibly, his theory would prove instrumental in helping the Soviet Union launch the first man-made object into orbit more than 50 years later. To put into a perspective on how influential his work was, it was a basic work that everybody had to use later. Most of the world used his rocket equation as the beginning of the modern rocket science, so studied from Jules' invention, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky took it over and left his achievement for posterity. That sounds so amazing. Their ideas about the space and civilization that populated it were so incredible. However, it went wrong soon enough. You know what happened? That's right, World War II. Their idea and masterpiece were mistreated and ruined, pretty much same as dynamite, which promoted the tool to destroy everything and kill innocent people. Look at the rocket technology and World War II. They were so closely related to each other. Rocket started to use as a key facet of effective warfare during the World War II, which incentivized development in rocket technology. Military forces had a long association about space flight with modern rockets evolving from missiles that were developed during the World War. Likewise, high-tech weapons were utilized for warfare from generation to generation. The ongoing invasion of Ukraine by Russia is a good example of how technology was developed. They started using advanced weapons like a drone, known as cheap and portable unmanned vehicles installed with missile to lessen battlefield casualties. Because of the war, conflict, and the combat between country and country, technology has made progress and made the life of human being easier. But I'm not happy with that, of course, because science and technology are supposed to be used only for the benefit of humankind, not for foul purposes. Historically, that's how rocket technology was implemented. It's sarcastic, but that's true. So it started in the Second World War II, as I said earlier. V1 and V2 rocket were deployed by a German scientist, and it traveled more than 30 kilometers and average speed more than 5,500 kilometers per hour. Not as great as a modern rocket launched in today's Russia or in the United States, but that was a prototype of rocket technology at the moment. After the end of the year, the US and the Soviet Union snatched up most of German rocket scientists, and they rushed to produce an even more powerful rocket. Then it caused the Cold War later in 1989, if I remember correctly. Then, so V2 rocket was just the start of the space race. The space race is a competitive demonstration mainly between the Soviet Union and the United States to achieve superior space flight capability. So the most striking differences between a classic space race and today is the entrance to the fold of China. I'm going to talk about the detailed China's superpower in the second half, so please hold on a second. So, as for a V2 rocket, this invention is the greatest achievement in rocket history, and also is given the ability to strike distant target with a high explosive payload. It enabled to reach an altitude of 3.5 kilometers or 2.2 miles following from the military order. The rocket engine was tested over and over again with varying designs as the rocket was developed. With those experiments, all confidential info was transferred to the Soviet Union, whereas German scientists went into exile in the United States. They flew away from their home country to defend against the war criminal. It makes sense. It's okay. But then the Soviet Union and the United States started over the space race in 1950s. The Soviet Union was the first to squad by developing a manned spacecraft. Okay? Yeah, so Yuri Gagarin was the first pilot to journey into outer space. His milestone had an incredible impact on the US. And then artificial satellite called Sputnik was launched. What the hell is satellite, by the way? Yeah, there are hundreds of satellites around the Earth. Yeah, they were used for diverse purposes such as weather forecast, TV signals, and internet communication, and more. Look at the moon. Yeah, moon is the place of mystery and terror. The dark side of the moon is more mysterious and terrifying discoveries in pictures from the moon. But yeah, it is a satellite, so to speak, because the moon is moving around Earth all day. Yeah, it orbits Earth. So how do satellites orbit Earth? Most of them are launched into space on rocket with a balance between Earth's gravity and centrifugal force. Satellite doesn't fall to the ground. So it's physics. Yeah, it's physics. I don't know too much about the physics, but once Russia finds it's possible to provide the information on clouds, oceans, land, and the geography of the United States, of course, the US is freaking afraid of being monitored and under supervision for 24 hours. That's not cool for United States, right? So if the atomic bomb was fell down in the center of the US, they get so fucked up. So then US declared the redemption for space race. You know who did that? John F. Kennedy. In his speech, he announced the Apollo program later. It's a manned spacecraft program carried out by the NASA, and he dispatched Neil Armstrong and other crews to take a first craft, and he had a desire to land a man on the moon by the end of the decade and return him safely to Earth. Of course, his mission was to take a first step onto the lunar surface, but many who believed the moon landing was faked. Well, good or bad? I'm sure the mission didn't go as smoothly as planned. When the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon, the footage was broadcast to households all across the world. The same thing is going to happen with the Artemis programs today. So I'll get deep into it in the second half, okay? So thanks for watching. Many scientists have engineers gave up on it. It can be theoretically possible but not applicable.